The red dust of Mars swirled around the alien observation post. Inside, Ambassador Du-hyun stared at his monitors with all four of his eyes wide open. His scaled hands shook as he pressed the emergency broadcast button. After 10 years of secretly watching the third planet, humans had finally found them. They weren't supposed to detect us, he whispered to himself. The observation post had the best cloaking technology in the galaxy. Yet somehow 3 human ships were now surrounding his station. The humans had arrived in bulky ships that looked nothing like the sleek vessels used by the Galactic Council. These ships were built like fortresses, with thick armor plates and large engines. Du-hyun had watched Earth long enough to know that humans built everything to survive harsh conditions. A message came through his communication system. Mars Observation Station. This is Captain Jae-yun Park of the Earth Space Force. We mean you no harm. We request peaceful contact. Do-hyun took a deep breath. His training hadn't prepared him for this. Humans weren't supposed to reach Mars for at least another 50 years. Yet here they were, breaking every prediction the Council had made. This is Ambassador Du-hyun of the Galactic Council, he replied. We accept your request for peaceful contact. 6 hours later, Du-hyun sat across from Captain Park in the station's meeting room. She was shorter than him, but something about her calm confidence made him nervous. 2 human guards stood by the door, standing perfectly still despite the station's low gravity. Du-hyun noticed they weren't wearing the usual space suits that visitors needed. Instead, they wore light environmental suits that let them move quickly if needed. We detected your energy signature 3 months ago, Captain Park explained, sipping water from a container. It took us some time to be sure it wasn't natural. We've known about alien life for years, but this is our first chance to make official contact. Do-hyun blinked in surprise. You knew about us. We found ruins on Mars 2 years ago, she said. Old mining equipment. We realized someone had been here before us. After that, we started looking more carefully. The ambassador felt his scales flatten against his skin, a sign of stress in his species. The ruins she mentioned were from an abandoned mining operation from 500 years ago. The Council had thought they cleaned up everything. What truly interests us, Captain Park continued, is why you've been watching Earth. Your planet. Du-hyun paused, choosing his words carefully. Earth is special. It's what we call a death world. A death world. A planet that should be too dangerous for intelligent life. High gravity, extreme temperatures, powerful storms, earthquakes, volcanoes. He looked at the human captain with all 4 eyes. Most species in the galaxy evolved on peaceful worlds. But humans, you survived on one of the most dangerous planets we've ever found. Captain Park smiled. It was a gentle expression, but it made Du-hyun nervous. Earth isn't dangerous to us, Ambassador. It's home. Just then, one of the human guards sneezed. The sudden sound made Du-hyun jump so high he hit his head on the ceiling. The low gravity sent him tumbling through the air until Captain Park caught him with one hand, her quick reflexes saving him from a crash. Are you okay, Ambassador? She asked, helping him up. I'm sorry about that. We should have warned you that humans sometimes make sudden noises when dust gets in our breathing systems. Do-hyun straightened his diplomatic robes, trying to maintain his dignity. Yes, thank you. Your quick movements are impressive. Basic human reflexes, she said casually. Nothing special. But Do-hyun knew better. He had just witnessed firsthand why humans were different. Their reactions, their strength, their casual acceptance of dangerous conditions, it all confirmed the Council's concerns. As he watched Captain Park check her communication device, he realized that humanity's emergence into the galactic community would change everything. The first contact hadn't gone as planned, but it had revealed something important. Humans weren't just survivors of a death world. They had mastered it, and now they were ready to explore the stars. Do-hyun knew he needed to warn the Council immediately. The galaxy wasn't ready for humans. 1 month after first contact, Ambassador Du-hyun sat in his new office at the Earth Diplomatic Center in Seoul. He watched through the window as rain poured down outside. On his desk, he had already gone through 3 environmental sensors. Each one had broken from trying to track Earth's rapidly changing weather. His assistant entered the office, carrying more reports. "Ambassador, the Council wants an update on the human assessment," she said, placing the papers on his desk. Do-hyun picked up the top report. It described how a human construction worker had survived falling from the 10th floor of a building. The man had broken several bones but returned to work just 3 months later. To Do-hyun's people, such injuries would have meant death or permanent disability. "Send in diplomat Jae-hyun Park," he said. "I need to understand something." Jae-hyun arrived wearing a formal business suit. She had worked with Do-hyun since first contact, helping him understand human culture. Today, she carried a large cup of brown liquid that released steam into the air. "Is that the drink called coffee?" Do-hyun asked, remembering his research. "Yes. Would you like to try some?" Do-hyun looked at the dark liquid. "Your medical reports say it contains a stimulant that can cause irregular heart rhythms. Yet humans drink it every day. It helps us work better," Jae-hyun explained. She placed the cup on his desk. "It's perfectly safe for most humans." Do-hyun carefully scanned the coffee with his personal analyzer. The readings made his scales ripple with concern. This would kill most species in the galaxy. How can humans drink poison for pleasure? Jae-hyun smiled. "One person's poison is another person's morning drink. Humans have evolved to process many substances that might harm others." Their conversation was interrupted by a loud crash from outside. Do-hyun rushed to the window. In the parking lot below, 2 cars had collided. He expected to see serious injuries or death. Instead, he watched in amazement as both drivers stepped out of their vehicles, looking annoyed but unharmed. "How?" he asked, pointing at the scene. "Safety features," Jae-hyun explained. "We design our vehicles knowing accidents will happen. The cars are built to absorb the impact and protect the humans inside. You expect things to go wrong, so you plan for it," Do-hyun said slowly, understanding something new about humans. "Of course, we can't control everything, but we can prepare for problems." Later that day, Do-hyun wrote his report to the council. He described how humans not only survived dangerous conditions, but actively prepared for them. They built their world expecting things to break, fail, or crash. More surprisingly, they seemed to enjoy challenging themselves. He included a note about human entertainment. The previous week, he had watched a human sports event called mountain climbing. Humans would deliberately climb dangerous peaks, risking death just for fun. When he asked Jae-hyun why anyone would do this, she had simply said, "Because it's there." As he finished his report, Do-hyun added one final observation. "Humans don't just endure hardship, they seek it out. They push their limits on purpose. In their minds, comfort equals weakness. This makes them the most unpredictable species we have ever encountered." He sent the report and looked out at the rain again. A group of human children played in the water, laughing as they jumped in puddles. Even their young seemed to enjoy what other species would consider uncomfortable conditions. The council had asked him to assess whether humans were dangerous. After 1 month on Earth, Do-hyun had his answer. Humans weren't dangerous because they wanted to harm others. They were dangerous because nothing seemed to harm them. Dr. Han-Sol Kim stood before the Galactic Council's medical committee, preparing to give his presentation on human medical advances. Ambassador Do-hyun watched from his seat, noticing how the alien doctors leaned forward with interest. They had no idea what they were about to learn. "Today, I will show you how humans repair damage to their bodies," Dr. Kim began, displaying images on the large screen behind him. "This is a common procedure we call heart surgery." The first image showed an open human chest during surgery. Several alien doctors immediately turned pale or changed colors. One of them fell out of their seat. You cut open your bodies while still alive?" asked the head of the medical committee, her voice shaking. "Of course," Dr. Kim replied calmly. "How else would we fix what's inside? We simply put the patient to sleep, repair the damage, and close them back up. Most recover within a few weeks." Do-hyun watched as the alien doctors whispered among themselves. In their cultures, cutting open a living being was considered the worst kind of violence. Yet here was a human explaining how they routinely did it to save lives. "Next, I'll show you how we replace damaged parts," Dr. Kim continued. He showed an image of a human with a mechanical leg. "When we lose limbs, we create new ones from metal and plastic. Many of these artificial limbs work better than the original ones." An alien doctor raised a trembling hand. "Are you saying humans can become part machine and survive?" "Survive? We thrive," Dr. Kim said proudly. "Some humans choose to have healthy limbs replaced with mechanical ones to become stronger or faster." The room fell silent. Do-hyun could feel the fear growing among the alien doctors. Humans didn't just survive injuries, they came back stronger. "But the most interesting part," Dr. Kim went on, "is how human bodies heal themselves. We can regrow skin, repair broken bones, and even regrow some organs partially. With proper medical help, humans can recover from injuries that would kill most species." He showed a video of a broken bone healing over time. The alien doctors watched in horror as the bone knitted itself back together. To them, it looked like magic or a monster regenerating. "Questions?" Dr. Kim asked, smiling at his audience. One brave doctor raised their hand. "What happens if you need to repair someone's brain?" "Excellent question. Let me show you some examples of brain surgery." Before Dr. Kim could show the next image, 3 doctors rushed out of the room. Do-hyun understood their reaction. The idea of opening someone's skull and touching their brain was terrifying to most species. After the presentation, Do-hyun found Dr. Kim in the hallway. "I don't think they were ready for that information," he said. Dr. Kim looked confused. "I only showed them basic procedures. I didn't even get to the complex stuff, like face transplants or experimental regeneration techniques." Do-hyun felt his scales flatten against his skin. Face transplants. Oh yes, when someone's face is badly damaged, we can give them a new one from a donor. Would you like to see some pictures? "No," Do-hyun said quickly. "I think the council has seen enough for today." As he watched Dr. Kim walk away, Do-hyun began writing another urgent report to the council. Humans weren't just tough. They had mastered the art of rebuilding themselves. What do you do with a species that treats major surgery as routine and sees losing body parts as a chance for upgrade? The answer was becoming clear. You stay on their good side and hope they continue to be friendly. The Galactic Sports Complex on New Terra shone under 3 suns. Representatives from 50 different species had gathered for the first interspecies military fitness competition. Ambassador Do-hyun stood near the track, watching as Sergeant Ta-Wong Lee prepared for the endurance race. "Are you certain your soldiers should participate?" asked the competition director. "The course is designed for all species. It might be too challenging for a human." Do-hyun had learned enough about humans to hide his smile. Let him try. The course stretched for 20 kilometers through different environmental zones. Participants would face extreme heat, freezing cold, low oxygen, and high gravity sections. Most species would excel in one zone but struggle in others. That was the point, to show how different species had different strengths. The race began. Tai-Wong started slowly, staying in the middle of the group. The first zone was a desert section. The lizard-like runners took the lead, loving the heat. Several other species dropped out, their cooling systems failing. Tai-Wong kept running. In the Arctic zone, the furry northern species pulled ahead. 3 more species quit, their bodies unable to handle the cold. The lizard-like leaders collapsed, their bodies shutting down in the frost. Tai-Wong kept running. The low oxygen zone caused more runners to stop. They couldn't breathe in the thin air. But Ta Wong had trained in the mountains of Earth. He passed the struggling aliens, moving into third place. "Impossible," whispered the competition director. He should have stopped by now. The high-gravity zone began. This section crushed most remaining runners. Even the strongest species slowed to a walk. But humans had evolved on a high-gravity world. Tai Wong passed the second-place runner. Only the race leader remained ahead, a tall, four-legged alien built for running. It looked back in surprise as Ta Wong got closer. No one had ever caught up to their species in a distance race. Then Ta Wong tripped. The crowd gasped as he fell hard on the high-gravity track. The sound of breaking bones echoed across the field. Medical teams rushed forward, but Ta Wong was already standing up. "Human," shouted the medical chief. "Your left leg bones are fractured. You must stop." Tai Wong looked at the finish line, just 2 kilometers away. "No," he said, and he started running again. The crowd fell silent. The alien runners stopped completely, watching in horror as the human ran on a broken leg. The competition director turned to Du Hyun, his eyes wide with fear. "How is this possible?" he asked. "The pain alone should knock him unconscious." "Humans can ignore pain when they have a goal," Du Hyun explained. "They call it determination." Tai Wong crossed the finish line first. He smiled, waved to the crowd, and then finally allowed the medical team to help him. The other competitors refused to finish the race. They withdrew from the competition entirely. Later that day, Du Hyun visited Ta Wong in the medical center. The human was already sitting up in bed, his leg wrapped in a healing cast. "The other species are calling you the unstoppable one," Du Hyun said. "You've frightened half the galaxy." "I don't understand," Ta Wong replied. "I just wanted to finish the race. Anyone from Earth would have done the same." That was exactly what frightened them, Du Hyun thought. Not that one human could do this, but that all of them could. The galaxy wasn't ready for a species that treated broken bones as a minor inconvenience. That evening, the Galactic Sports Committee created a new rule. Humans could only compete against other humans. For safety reasons, they said. But everyone knew the truth. It wasn't for the human safety. It was for everyone else's peace of mind. Captain Sun Mi Kang stood on the bridge of her ship, the Earth defense vessel Steadfast, as emergency alerts flashed across her screens. The Ravager ships had attacked the human colony on New Hope without warning. They expected to find an easy target. They were wrong. "Status report," Sun Mi ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. 3 civilian ships escaped to safety, her first officer reported. "The colony's shields are holding. The Ravagers seem confused by our resistance." The Ravagers had a simple strategy. They attacked weak colonies, took what they wanted, and left. But they had never faced humans before. They didn't know that humans built everything to survive attacks, including their colonies. "Launch our fighters," Sun Mi commanded. "Show them why you don't threaten human civilians." The battle began. The Ravager ships were faster and more advanced, but human vessels were built like floating tanks. Where alien ships relied on shields, human ships had thick armor. Where alien weapons were precise, human weapons were powerful. An explosion rocked the Steadfast. Warning lights flashed as one deck lost air pressure. "Captain," shouted her medical officer, "Deck 4 is breached. We need to evacuate." "Negative," Sun Mi replied. "Seal the emergency bulkheads. Our people know the protocols." On Deck 4, the human crew worked calmly despite the air leaking into space. They wore their emergency suits, standard equipment for all human space personnel. Where other species would panic without air, humans simply adapted and kept working. The Ravager commander sent a message. "Your ship is damaged. Surrender, and we will be merciful." Sun Mi laughed. The Steadfast had lost 1 deck out of 50. Human ships were designed to keep fighting even with massive damage. The Ravagers had no idea what damaged meant to humans. "All weapons, target their engines," she ordered. Let's show them how humans fight. The battle lasted 2 more hours. The Ravagers watched in horror as human ships absorbed hits that should have destroyed them. Human crews continued fighting even when their sections were exposed to space. Human Marines even boarded one Ravager ship, fighting in zero gravity as if they had trained for it their whole lives. Finally, the Ravager fleet retreated. They had never failed to conquer a colony before. As they fled, they sent messages to every species in the galaxy. Do not fight the humans. They do not stop. They do not surrender. They are not normal. After the battle, Ambassador Duhyun arrived to assess the damage. He found Sun Mai supervising repairs to her ship. The Ravagers are spreading stories about this battle, he told her. They say your crew fought like machines, that nothing stopped them. Sun Mai looked at her crew working on repairs. Some were injured but still helping. Others worked double shifts without rest. We're not machines, she said. We're just humans. This is what we do. Do-hyun watched a crew member patch a hull breach from the outside, floating in space as calmly as if working in a garden. That's what scares them, he said. Not that you won, but that this was normal for you. The story of the Battle of New Hope spread quickly through the galaxy. The Ravagers, known for their fierce fighting, now traveled in groups far from human space. Other species began requesting human protection for their colonies. As Do-hyun wrote in his report, the galaxy has learned an important lesson. Humans don't just survive attacks. They make sure such attacks never happen again. Their greatest weapon isn't their technology or their strength. It's their absolute refusal to accept defeat. Researcher Yoon-ho sat in the Great Library of the Galactic Council, surrounded by historical records from Earth. As the Council's chief historian, he had been tasked with understanding how humans became so resilient. What he discovered made him question everything he knew about species development. The morning sun cast long shadows through the library's crystal windows as Yoon-ho presented his findings to the Council. Ambassador Do-hyun sat among the audience, curious about what the historian had learned. Honorable Council members, Yoon-ho began, his voice trembling slightly. I have studied Earth's history, and I must report that humans should not exist. Their survival defies all known patterns of evolution. He displayed images of Earth's prehistoric times. Humans were not the strongest, fastest, or largest species on their planet. They had no natural weapons, no armor, and no special abilities. Yet they survived. The council members listened intently as Yoon-ho continued. They faced extinction-level events multiple times. Ice ages, supervolcanoes, massive climate changes. Each time, they not only survived but emerged stronger. Do-hyun noticed the other council members shifting uncomfortably in their seats. Most species in the galaxy had evolved on planets with stable conditions. The idea of surviving multiple disasters seemed impossible. But here is the most disturbing part, Yoon-ho said, showing new images. Humans actively seek out dangerous situations to learn from them. When they find a problem, they solve it. When they face a barrier, they break through it. He displayed a timeline of human technological advancement. Most species take thousands of years to develop new technologies. Humans went from simple flying machines to space travel in less than 70 years. They saw others succeed and thought, we can do better. And Council Elder raised her hand. Are you suggesting humans are superior to other species? No, Yoon-ho replied. I am suggesting they are different in a fundamental way. They don't accept limitations. When we say something is impossible, they treat it as a challenge. He showed images of human achievements, deep-sea exploration vessels, mountain climbing expeditions, spacecraft landing on hostile planets. They explore environments that should kill them. They deliberately practice surviving in deadly conditions. They turn their weaknesses into strengths. Do-hyun remembered his first days on Earth, how surprised he had been by human children playing in the rain. Now he understood. It wasn't just playfulness. It was humans training themselves from childhood to adapt to any condition. My conclusion, Yoon-ho said, is the humans are dangerous not because they want to harm others, but because they refuse to accept that anything can harm them. They treat every obstacle as temporary, every limitation as breakable. The council chamber fell silent. Finally, the head counselor spoke. "What do you recommend?" "We must change how we think about humans," Yunho answered. "We see their survival abilities as frightening. They see them as normal. We must understand that their greatest strength isn't physical. It's their absolute conviction that they can overcome any challenge." After the presentation, Do-hyun found Yunho gathering his research materials. "Your findings will change how the galaxy views humans," he said. Yunho nodded solemnly. "The truly remarkable thing is that humans don't see themselves as remarkable at all. To them, pushing boundaries and surviving impossible situations is simply what they do. And that, Ambassador, is why they are the most fascinating and terrifying species we have ever encountered." Dr. Daeyeon Choi walked through the halls of the Galactic Psychology Center, carrying her research findings. After studying human behavior for 3 years, she had discovered things that would change how the galaxy viewed humans forever. The presentation room was packed with representatives from every major species. Ambassador Do-hyun sat in the front row, noticing how the aliens kept glancing nervously at the few humans in the room. "Distinguished colleagues," Daeyeon began, "today I will explain why humans behave in ways that seem impossible to understand. The answer is both simple and frightening. Humans are addicted to challenge." She showed brain scans on the large screen. When most species face danger, their brains tell them to run away. When humans face danger, their brains often reward them for moving toward it. The audience murmured in confusion. A senior psychologist raised his hand. "Are you saying humans enjoy being in danger?" "Yes," Daeyeon replied. "Humans release chemicals in their brains that make them feel good when they overcome challenges. The harder the challenge, the better they feel when they succeed." She displayed images of human activities: rock climbing, deep sea diving, spicy food eating contests, and extreme sports. These are what humans call hobbies, things they do for fun. Notice how many of them involve risk of injury or death. An alien scientist fainted in the back row. 2 others quickly carried their unconscious colleague out of the room. "But it gets more interesting," Daeyeon continued. "Humans don't just seek physical challenges. They deliberately create puzzles and problems to solve. They make games harder on purpose. They choose to work at difficult jobs when easier ones are available." Ambassador Do-hyun watched the aliens' reactions. Many had changed colors, showing signs of stress. They couldn't understand why any species would choose to make life harder. "Look at this," Daeyeon said, showing video clips of human children. Young humans play games where they pretend to be in danger. They practice dealing with scary situations for fun. From their earliest years, humans train themselves to face fear. She switched to new data. When we tell humans something is impossible, their brains show increased activity. They become more interested, not less. They see barriers as puzzles to solve. The room was completely silent now. Every alien was staring at the human researchers, as if seeing them for the first time. "This explains many human behaviors," Daeyeon explained. "Why they explore dangerous places, why they keep fighting when injured, why they respond to disasters with determination instead of despair. Their brains are wired to treat challenges as opportunities." An alien psychologist slowly raised a trembling hand. "Are you saying that what terrifies us excites them?" "Exactly," Daeyeon smiled. "What you see as a nightmare, humans often see as an adventure. They have a saying, 'Hold my beer and watch this.' It means they are about to do something dangerous just to prove they can." After the presentation, Do-hyun found Daeyeon in her office. "Your research explains so much," he said, "but it will make many species even more afraid of humans." Daeyeon nodded, organizing her notes. "They should understand something important. Humans don't want to scare anyone. We just can't help being who we are. A species that looks at the impossible and thinks, I bet I could do that. Do-hyun looked out the window at Earth in the distance. Now he understood why humans had survived on their death world. They hadn't just adapted to danger. They had learned to love it. Ambassador Do-hyun stood before the full Galactic Council, preparing to present the new guidelines for human interaction. After 6 months of careful study, the Council had finally decided how to deal with humanity. The evidence is clear. Do-hyun began. Humans are unique in the galaxy. We cannot change them, so we must learn to work with them. The council chamber was fuller than usual. Representatives from every known species had come to hear the new protocols. Many still showed signs of nervousness when they looked at the human delegates. First, Do-hyun announced, "We recognize humans as protectors. Their colonies will serve as safe havens for any species under threat. The Ravagers no longer attack anyone near human space. Other pirates and raiders avoid human-protected zones. We should use this to our advantage." The council members nodded in agreement. Since the Battle of New Hope, attacks on colonies had decreased by 80%. Simply having human ships nearby made most threats disappear. Second, we will create special human advisory teams. When other species face impossible problems, these teams will help find solutions. Humans have a remarkable ability to solve problems that others consider hopeless. In the audience, Dr. Daeun Choi smiled. Just last week, a human engineer had fixed a permanently broken alien reactor by suggesting they turn it off and on again. The solution was so simple that no other species had considered it. Third, Do-hyun continued, "We establish new safety protocols for human-alien interaction, not to protect humans, but to protect others from human activities that seem normal to them, but dangerous to us." He showed examples on the main screen. Humans casually drinking coffee, poison to most species. Humans playing contact sports, terrifying to watch. And humans exploring dangerous environments for fun, causing panic among alien observers. Finally, Do-hyun said, "We must accept that humans will continue to surprise us. They will keep pushing boundaries and breaking what we think are universal laws. This is not a threat. It is an opportunity." Just then, a commotion erupted in the council chamber's visitor area. A human child had asked an alien child to play a game called tag. The alien parents watched in horror as their child learned that humans considered chasing each other for fun to be normal behavior. You see, Do-hyun gestured to the scene. Even their young show us how different they are. But look closer. The alien child, after initial fear, had started laughing while running from the human child. Other alien children slowly joined in. Their parents watched in confusion as their children learned to play like humans. "This is the greatest truth we have learned," Do-hyun concluded. "Humans don't just overcome their own fears. They help others overcome fears too. Yes, they terrify us, but they also inspire us to be more than we think we can be." After the presentation, Do-hyun met with Jae-yun Park in the council gardens. "Do you think they understand us better now?" she asked. "They understand that not understanding humans is normal," Do-hyun replied. "And they've learned something important. Being terrified of humans keeps you safe from everything else in the galaxy." Jae-yun laughed. "We never wanted to scare anyone. We just wanted to explore the stars and make new friends." "I know," Do-hyun said, watching more alien children cautiously joining the game of tag. "That's what makes humans special. You turn fear into friendship, impossible into possible, and problems into adventures. The galaxy will never be the same, and that's exactly what it needed."